Fussenberg,
Here.
Mr. Neff, Mr. Rio,
Yep.
Ms. Rothwell,
Here.
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Here.
Ms. Stevens-Morling. Here. Mr. Kimball, and Mr. Solon. For the Board of Ed, Ms. Cullinan, Mr. Ecke,
Here.
Mr. Grippo,
Here.
Ms. Harrigan,
Here.
Mr. Perugini,
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Present.
and Mr. White. We have a quorum on each of the committees.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. This is a momentous meeting that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. We have reached the point where we have completed plans for our new North End School, and we are going to present those this evening, and hopefully find that both the committee and the Board of Education approve those plans, send them up to the state, which will get us on the road towards going out to bid, and hopefully breaking ground in late December or early January. So we're right on schedule at the moment, and we're really excited about the plans and the school. But we want to make sure that everyone is fully aware of what is in the package. I believe everyone has seen the full set of plans and specifications, or at least had the opportunity to read them. There are about 500 pages of drawings, and I think I counted 4,900 pages of specifications. So it's fun reading for you. If I might, Justin, are you gonna take the lead here?
Yeah, I'll
Why
kick
don't
it off.
we, before I do that, why don't we just go around the circle, because not everybody may know everybody who's here. So we could start at that end if you'd like, Justin.
Okay, great. My name's I think I've met most of you, probably given presentations to all of you in the past. My name's Justin Hopkins. I'm an associate principal and senior project manager at Tecton Architects, and the project manager for both the North End and the Norton School projects for the town of Cheshire.
I'm Laurel Purcell with ONG. I'm pre-construction manager, so I'm the point of contact until the construction starts.
I'm Mark Jeffco with ONG Industries. I'm a project executive for ONG, and I'm handling both the school projects.
I'm Rich Sitnick with Arcadis, the pre-construction manager as well as the principal in charge for both the schools.
Will, you wanna?
Yeah.
Sure. Will Walter with Alfred Benish and Company. We're the civil engineers and landscape architects on the project.
Craig Rath with Cole Ronan, with the MEP Technology Engineers for both projects.
I'm Brian Benoit. I'm a senior project manager. I will be overseeing both of the projects for ONG Industries on site.
I'm Sarah Stevens-Morling, and with the Next Generation School Building Committee.
I'm Megan Rockwell with the Next Generation School Building Committee. I have a daughter that will be attending Norton.
I'm very excited about
Yes,
it.
very excited.
Dennis Reel with the Next Generation Building Committee.
Greg Rosenblatt, Next Generation School Building Committee.
Rich Gussenberg, chairman of the building committee.
Sam Rosenberg, Chair of the Board of Ed.
Adam Grifo, Secretary, Board of Ed.
Ann Harrigan, Vice Chair, Board of Ed.
Tony Perugini, Board of Ed.
Mark Ecke, Board of Ed.
Marlene Solano, Assistant Superintendent.
Ben Massiana, Chief Operating Officer for the schools.
Okay.
Carol Jasinski, and I'm the executive assistant to Jeff Solon, superintendent.
Wonderful. Now, Justin, if you.
Okay. Well, great. Everybody can hear me from here. This room is about 4 times bigger than the one that we usually meet in over at Town Hall. Not 4 times cooler though, but let's just make sure that. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're working on both the North End and the Norton Elementary Schools. This meeting in particular is focused on the North End, as the chairman said. However, just for the sake of comparison, just to remind everybody of the dual effort that we're embarking on in town, we have the North End and the Norton School from K to 6, very similar student cohort and student population. The distinguishing factor with the North End Elementary School is we have our pre-kindergarten program. So that accounts for a modestly bigger building, about 129 more students at the north end than Norton. So bigger building, bigger project budget. Just to remind everybody, our total project budget for the North End Elementary School is $89,942,900. So that's a total project budget. That includes all of the FF&E, technology, smart boards, professional fees, incidental costs, as well as a hard construction cost of $74,250,700. And that's going to become a key figure as we start getting into where we are in the overall construction budget. Where we are in the design phase, we started working with the district well over a year ago in March of 2023. We've gone through 3 design thresholds: schematic design, design development, and we're at the end of construction documentation. At each point, we've had touch points with the community. We've met with the Next Generation School Building Committee. We've gone through the entire regulatory process in town, and we've been working with a working group of Cheshire Public Schools employees and staff and teachers. So from the start, it's been a collaborative process. These are some of the initial photos from some of the initial working groups and think tank sessions that we have. It's worth noting that in 2 days, we'll be attending our second fall festival on Saturday as part of a booth. The team's really looking forward to that. From our initial think tank, this will probably be familiar to most of you, but it's worth mentioning our think tank mission statement for the North End. And at these threshold presentations, I want to reiterate what that think tank mission statement was. We're doing this for every child and the future of the Cheshire community so that they can feel a connection and sense of belonging to their school community and ultimately be drawn in and love learning. So really that's kind of the touchstone that we started the project with, and it's what we keep revisiting at every threshold. It's always a great reminder for all of us to know this is what we're doing this project for. So what we're here tonight to do is to discuss phase 2 of 4. Which is by far the largest phase of the project. It's the general construction phase of the project. So you may recall a few months ago we had our phase 1, which was early procurement and site enabling. We had the meeting in here, so that got us to start ordering some long lead items and also start doing some site enabling. If you've been by the Norton School, the North End property in particular, you'll notice that we have a level building pad. So that's a part of our settlement platforms. We'll be monitoring that. So that was phase 1. Phase 2 is the rest of the building and site development. Phases 3 and 4 are some of the playscapes and FF&E and technology. That will be another phase that will be going as we get a little bit closer to the opening of school. So as a reminder of what our site plan is, this is the corner of Jarvis and Marion. Marion is to the top of the page. North is to the east of the screen, or the right of the screen. So the top of the page is due west. I'm assuming that everybody's seen these site plans, so if I need to go into further detail on anything, by all means, please stop me. Building is situated further down towards the eastern portion of the site. That allows us to get our bus pickup and drop off and service access to the north. Our parent pickup and drop off to the southern entry off of Marion Road. We have our pre-kindergarten pickup and drop off of Jarvis Street. So that little wing of the building is where our pre-kindergarten entrance and administrative areas are. As we get in a little bit closer to the building, you'll see again at the top of the screen our parent loop to the left, our bus loop to the right, both focusing on the main entry to the building. As well as over to the left, we have our pre-K entry. We have a ring. I'm going to stand up as we describe some of this. So we do have a sidewalk and a structured paver surface that allows us to have emergency response 360 degrees around the building. We've situated our playscapes, our early childhood playscapes, and our K-5 playground and hardtop, as well as multipurpose field around the building, safely away from vehicular traffic. In terms of the building orientation, we have a main level and an upper level. Building axonometric kind of shows how this is stacked together. By and large, our two-story spaces are over our academic wings. Our public spaces are situated to the front of the building, so it'll allow for some partitioning of, nights and weekends, after-school activities for the gym, the cafeteria, the media center, as well as managing the learning communities in a sensitive way. And again, we have our one-story wing, which is our pre-kindergarten area to the south. So, larger plan of the main level, again, main entry, an admin wing here, our pre-kindergarten area with its separate administrative wing to the left, gymnasium, cafeteria, shared platform that can address both the gym and the cafeteria, our service entry, our physical plant, and our kitchen and servery off of the cafeteria, our specials located in the heart of the building, and our grade level learning communities, kindergarten and some of our pre-kindergarten intensive education areas in the wing to the left, our first and second grade to our wing to the right. Each area having its, when I go to the second floor in particular, you'll notice a mirroring of some of the support spaces, toilet cores dedicated to each learning community, as well as special education resource areas and teacher planning areas. So we have third and fourth grade in this learning community, third and fourth grade, fifth and sixth grade in this one, a bridge connecting the two wings on the second floor. For specials, we also have our general music, our visual arts, and the upper level of our media center. So a couple of updated renderings. This is a view of the building from the parent loop, a view from the bus loop, building section showing how some of these spaces go together. Our media center being a double height space that's accessible both from the main level and the upper level. Administrative offices situated to the front entry. A Main Street corridor that's separating our public spaces from our curriculum classroom learning communities. So kindergarten on the lower level, 5th and 6th grade on the upper level. This is a view from the cafeteria, looking back towards the classroom areas, platform to the right, kitchen and servery to the left. This is the shared platform that I was referencing earlier, where in this case it's open to the cafeteria. And the way that we view this being used is if there's an all-school assembly or a winter concert or a spring concert, we would close this side, open it to the gymnasium to support that larger spectator group. If there's a more intimate or smaller speaker or guest lecturer or visiting author, if they're not in the media center, they could be in the cafeteria on this side. This is a view in the media center looking towards the main entry corridor past the circulation desk. So this is the start of the double height space, where on the lower level we have what we to a learning stair, or a stair to help, or a seating area, tiered seating area to allow for different types of presentation or student engagement classes, etc. And you can see within the media center, we also have some stairs that go up to the second floor. Elevator behind our kind of sculptural element of our silo on this side, accessible both from the corridor off of Main Street and within the cafeteria. The media center.
Justin,
Yes.
where are the books housed?
Oh, the book, we're standing kind of with our backs to the stacks. If I go back to well, I can tell you on the upper level of the media, they're all up here. We actually do have, if you look at the furniture plans that are in the documents, we have stacks that are in this area. So this view is more or less from here looking in this direction, and we have stacks behind us in that view. Good question, thank you. So a little bit about some of the interior design. We've had a number of, very good question, thank you. We've had a number of conversations with some of the branding, or not the branding, but theming of our grade level learning communities, picking up off of the farms and field concept for the North End. And we started by sharing some graphics, and really landed on things, the grade level learning communities for kindergarten, calling it Caterpillar Corner, grades 1 and 2, Butterfly Field, grades 3 and 4, Barnyard, and grades 5 and 6, Open Pastures. So that's really a kind of a broad typology that we're using to draw some graphics and some theming within each learning community. So the idea is from caterpillar to butterfly, growing and exploring. And we've worked with the working group and the educators to really craft this narrative of, starting from a caterpillar to going to a butterfly, exploring our open fields, and ultimately getting into our ready to explore. So how this starts to work, we pull colors and themes within the corridors, pulling some graphic wall protection. So this is a kind of dual purpose where we're protecting the walls, so it's not just, well, this is Home and Stove, but it's not just a plaster or gypsum wall board. We need to be able to protect the durability of those walls. So pulling in some graphics for there to print on top of the wall board. So that was the lower level, the upper level, from grades 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. Main theme, growing and exploring, expanding horizons. And this is an example of some of our breakout spaces in our main floor learning communities, grades 1 and 2, where at the knuckles of the corridors, providing some breakout spaces where we have an interactive display board, some area for customization, a writable surface that really allows for the breakout spaces that we know how our teachers are teaching our students, right? It's not just everybody sitting looking at the main screen of our classrooms. It's often peer-to-peer, small group learning, pull-out instruction that can happen in these areas. And then this is an example of the upper level where in our older grade levels at the breakout spaces, we're exposing the gabled structure inside, making it become part of the architecture. And you'll see where we also introduce our lockers on the upper levels. So, what we have for the documents, and if there, maybe I should come back. Are there any questions about what I presented so far? Yeah, go ahead.
Just because I'm only piecing it together, but that media center, is that what you call a library now?
Yes. Yes.
When you talk about books, I'm like, oh, right, the library. And so that's what the library is now.
Yes.
Will it be approximately the same books as Chapman School, or how is that calculated?
We have, you'll have to forgive me that I don't have the actual volume count that we have in our thing, but there is a ratio of volumes per student, and because we have a larger student population here, we're accommodating a larger volume.
Great.
Yeah.
But there's a makerspace opportunity though, also within that area.
Yes, there's enough space in the layout, that we can support any type of instruction there, yes. So what I have to my left are the actual drawings. It's rare that we print them out anymore, to be honest, but for the purposes of obtaining signatures, making sure that the building officials are looking at them, we need to have a record set of drawings. So we have, our sets of drawings are 464 drawings. They're situated into 2 volumes. Digitally, we combine them into volumes 1 and 2, just for the sake of having them in one file. Our specifications, our project manual is in 3 volumes, and as the chair mentioned, you know, about 4,500 pages. So volume 3 technically are the appendices, all the kind of groundwork of research and reports that have been done up to this point. The front end and the first half of the technical specifications are in volumes 1. The second half of the technical specs are in volume 2. So ultimately what this does is you'll see we have signature blocks that are on the cover sheet of the drawings, the list of drawings, sheet in the drawings, cover sheet of the project manual, and the table of contents in the project manual. So these all need to be signed by the building official, the fire marshal, the health department, and the section 504 or ADA coordinator. Your town engineer is technically the town of Cheshire's ADA coordinator. In terms of what the cost estimate information that we have, and Laurel will certainly jump in here if I'm misspeaking here. As I mentioned, our total construction budget, $74,250,700. The last phase that we came to you for was the phase 1, and that was $2,599,965. That's a hard bid number. That's what's in the kind of phase 1 GMP. The phase 2 cost estimate, which is what we're asking you to vote and approve as a budget this evening, is $70,331,114. If you add up the hard bid numbers from phase 1 and the estimate for phase 2, we have a total phase 1 GMP and phase 2 estimate at $72,931,079, which results in a being below budget by $1,319,621. So what we're asking the formal motions that are required for us to go to the state review is a formal motion to approve both the project manual and drawings for the project and cost estimate. I believe they need to be 2 separate motions.
No, it's all in one motion.
What that allows us to do is go to the state. There is a review period that we will start on next Wednesday with the state. Hopefully it will go quicker than the phase 1 review did. There were a lot of questions about what exactly we were doing before. I think we laid a lot of groundwork with our plan reviewer. So the goal is to get approval from the state to bid. They will issue a letter that says the North End Elementary School is authorized to bid for the project. That will initiate the bid cycle, which will presumably conclude the end of November, beginning of December, with the goal of mobilizing on site December 11th?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's our best case scenario. That's optimizing it.
Yeah. So, I did bring Will from Benesh for civil engineering and landscape questions, and Craig from Kohler Ronan for anything mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, technology, security, audio, visual, data, all stop me here.
You got it all.
So are there any questions? Anything that is unclear, what the ask is, what's in the project, etc.?
Sure. I'll go look again. I have several questions, and if any of them can be answered by me watching one of your meetings, just let me know. So firstly, let's talk about the surplus. How is that being calculated? Why did you decide that we actually have an estimated surplus? And what happens to the surplus since we sort of already budgeted for it?
All right, so can I answer this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's only an estimated surplus, right? We just conducted a cost estimate based on those drawings, where we counted up everything that's on the drawings and we put a value to it. So we also have a little bit of escalation contingency still included in our estimate because we haven't opened bids yet. We also are carrying a slight design contingency just because the details aren't all the way there. I mean, they're there, but just to get us through till we go out to bid. So the cost estimate is based on those documents. Those documents, again, as Justin has mentioned, it's the third go-round of looking at these drawings and putting costs together. So it happened to come in under the original budget that was established for this school. So it's not like we tried to make it be under budget, it just is. And again, it's just an estimated surplus. When the bids come in, we will know what is left and what is not left. And at that point, the building committee decide what they want to do with it.
And I would point out that, you know, we may encounter some situations that we don't know of that will cost us additional money as we move along. I've run into that before in other projects. But if we got to the end of the project and there was some excess funds, then there are a couple of things that could be done. One is those excess funds could be used to enhance some aspect of the project. It might be, you know, money towards technology or things like that. It could be looking to add the purchase of things like solar panels, which are not part of the specs. Or it could be that we just don't use all the money, in which case the town doesn't have to bond as much as they originally. They have approval to bond for the two projects, 166 million, but they don't have to use all the money. They could, you know, bond less. We can't bond more, but we can bond less.
Right. Great. Let's see, question 2 is Marion Road. Has there been any solutions or proposed solutions for Marion Road as far as getting students there that were within walking distance, or is that pretty much bus or whatever?
Well, if you were on line when we went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, that was a major discussion. We did.
Yeah, I was wondering if something had happened since then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. To my knowledge, unless Sean.
No, the engineering department for the town is, as contractors to design them, and they're under design right now.
Design?
To design sidewalks.
Sidewalks, okay.
And that sidewalk section would be from Dundee up to the school, small strip across the street on Jarvis where the large development is. So that's all that's been committed to at this point, which certainly helps because there are a lot of students down that walking path on Jarvis.
Right. On Marion, they're still studying what's possible there on that particular section.
Okay. And if not, there was a commitment made that we would bus students if they had to come to school, even if they were close, but there was no sidewalk. Okay.
For what we've been,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
and this came about during the planning and zoning discussions, what we've been able to accommodate on our site proper is to, from the north access to the site to the property line, we're providing a sidewalk on site. And from the corner of Jarvis and Marion, we're providing a sidewalk down to our access to the site. The idea is, and this was a discussion with district and town, we want to get students that are walking to our site, your site, onto your site as soon as possible. So to have people that are approaching from the north be able to get on site at this area, people that are approaching from the south to get on Jarvis, and through that area. So we're accommodating sidewalk access from the portions of, the extreme portions of our site into the site by sidewalk.
I'd call that an improvement from last time, so that's great. Let's see, geothermal. Has there been any changes to the geothermal system, or has it pretty much been static since you did your big examinations, 6 months ago or
You took
whatever?
Tim's question. That was Tim's question.
Right. Well, anyway, he just walked in, so.
So we've done, since we've last given a presentation to this body, we have conducted test wells at both sites, geothermal test wells, 2 on each site. So that tested the conductivity of the wells to allow us to make sure that we were informed in our quantity of wells as it relates to our demand of the building. So Craig, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
And the only change was, since we did the test wells, was a slight incremental change in spacing of the quantity of wells we had, just to give us the longevity of the system. But since we came up and engineered or value managed the project from early on to where we are now, there hasn't been no change since what you may have heard and approved back then.
Craig, could you go over the calculations that were done on the efficiency of the system and the potential to add PV on the roof of the school?
Yeah, so once we started up, we had an EUI that was in the upper 20s. As a basis of design, we started analyzing all our systems. As we got into the building and, the building morphed into where it is today, and collaboration with the envelope and our systems, our DD model came down to a total EUI in the low to mid-20s from where we started, which is very efficient. Most elementary schools that are going electrical are anywhere between 17 and 25. So we are in the middle, around 21, 22 energy use intensity bill, which is very efficient. So that gives you a good opportunity to do solar to kind of offset. But and Richard mentioned the way the roof lays out here, we don't really have enough footprint on the roof to go truly net zero. But we can offset, if you decide to do it, we can offset a very large portion of the energy being consumed on this building. And then if you wanted to consider other things like carports and things like that, you could supplement it to do full net zero if you wanted to. So there's some opportunities that are available. And you're gonna end up having an all-electric school that's actually very efficient.
And that's still a hybrid system?
It's a hybrid system, yes. Hybrid system is, the DOAS units are not taking advantage of the geothermal. They're air source heat pumps, which is gonna provide the ventilation air to all the classroom, the occupied spaces, and the gym and cafeteria are dedicated air source heat pumps that provide the heating and cooling for those. They are decoupled from the geothermal. However, we did put hot water coils in all those units as a supplement, which comes off the geothermal system under heating or emergency type situations to back up the air source system.
Works for me, I don't know, but I'm not the expert.
No, we're hoping you were tagged on to that.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
it kind of-
I have more questions, so you can go to other people, or come back to me, or whatever.
I do have a couple questions, if that's okay. You had just mentioned the solar carports. I'm just wondering, generally speaking, I'm thinking the location of the parking might, the way solar is designed right now is south-facing solar is basically gonna get you the most value, and that could change in the future, but that's where it is right now. And I'm thinking that south-facing panels, by the way, I'm looking at this, wait, where's Marion?
South is to the
Up
left.
is west.
Yeah, would it make more sense if like parking was rotated 90 degrees? If we ended up doing that?
Well, you can put carports and have all the solar panels face true south. The way the layout right now, either over the pre-K there or even those big parking lots, the way they're set, you can put carports going across there to give you solar. It just depends on how you space it out. Sure, if you rotate it the other way, so the parking spaces were oriented the other way, it would be better.
That was exactly my
Yeah,
point, so
yeah,
that's
it
all I'm
would.
wondering about.
But you don't need to do, we wouldn't need to do full carports to supplement. We wouldn't need that much, you need to get something more.
Okay, so I see the point you're making, even if it was just running along the southern line, maybe,
Yeah.
or the northern lines where there is parking, then that might be sufficient. Got it, that's what I needed to hear, all right, thank you.
So from the DD analysis, there was an estimated ability to have 1,063 solar panels on the roof. To get a true net zero building, approximately 1,343 panels are required. So we can get 85% of the way there just on the roof. to
So you
net
need
zero.
another 300 panels, so 150 kW, which is gonna be a few of those lines really, just heading, the
Right.
ones that are heading north-south. Okay, thank you, that makes total sense, thank you. So I apologize for getting here late, so you cut me off, you don't have to even answer it if you already did, but are the GO, is that open or closed loop?
Close.
Okay.
We don't design open anymore.
No, that's what I was hoping you would say, that we learned. Generally speaking, the real goal here, more than like my own interest in energy, transition, but are the buildings gonna be comfortable?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I noticed when I was looking through it, that at least in one of the two, I saw a number for like 14,000 for EV chargers. So my questions really are kind of relating to both of them, both of the schools, but specifically to this one here. Are you planning on putting in EV chargers, or is that just like the wiring underground, so it's EV charger capable?
I believe we have two EV charging stations that are part of the layout right now, so it's not just the infrastructure.
Okay. It's just that, not to have a discussion of it, that does open up like a whole bunch of other questions related to it, which you understand. Anyway, I don't wanna talk about that right now. You're making it EV charger capable, so thank you for that. I think that is worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll continue on.
Thank you.
So actually, to piggyback on that, so since we're accepting state money, EV charging stations are not mandatory?
Not for this, if you have a grant that you're currently applying for, or I believe part of the approval this year, yes, they are required. The recent updates to the laws require any publicly funded project to incorporate a certain amount of EV charging in their parking areas. Due to the time that your project submitted the grant application, we are not required to comply with that.
Oh, that's great. Well, in my opinion. All right, so the generator, it says there's a diesel generator.
Yes.
So is that like the portable one, or is it a permanent installation? And are we storing diesel fuel on site, or how does that work?
Yes to, I think, all of the questions. It's an 850 kW 800 kW generator, diesel fueled. I believe the storage allows us to, how many hours?
It's huge, it's
48.
So it's not portable?
It's not portable.
Well, I know we have one.
It's like the size of a trailer truck.
It's pretty big.
All right, so I wasn't sure if it was like we're doing the plug and play thing like we do at some of the other schools.
So one of the things, and you, those of you that may have followed the conversations at the NGSBC back in design development when we were getting pricing and going through the exercises of the sizing of the generator, there was a desire in this end of town not to make an emergency shelter, but a warming center or a cooling center, and to provide that emergency capability at this building, so that in the summer, extended power outage, hurricane, if the north end of town is out of power for an extended time, or it's very hot, to be able to have this school be open and cooled, particularly in the gymnasium and the cafeteria, for some of our kind of public spaces. Additionally, the building, most of the building is on the emergency generator. So in the event, and for both schools, In the event of a power outage, the instruction will continue, or have the ability to continue for the day, so students, if power goes out at 10 o'clock in the morning, students aren't sitting around until parents are notified, buses are rescheduled, etc. So,
It'll continue to operate, but not in the not in normal operating conditions, meaning you'll be able to maintain conditions until the end of the school day to get the children home safe. That's the idea.
The only thing I'll add to that is that the goal is, at the north end of town, you have the new North End School as that cooling or warming center, and at the south end of town, we have Cheshire High School that can function in the same way with its permanent generator. So that's why we didn't have to upsize Norton anymore than just to get through a school day typically.
So lastly, is landscaping. So, I think I've said a few times, I'll be living across the street basically from this school. And we're new construction. And the weeds are like nuclear weeds. I mean, most of us use fertilization, that sort of thing on our lawns across the street. But the weeds still come through, and it's my understanding that we're not allowed to treat any of our grounds with chemicals. So how are you going to keep this landscaping from turning into these, I mean, literally like 4 foot tall weeds that by the end of the season flow like fields of wheat, but they're not anything nice. You know what I mean? So I see like soccer fields and stuff, and that's all great, but if you can't treat it, how is that all gonna go?
I will start by saying if your soccer fields are 4 feet tall, then you're probably not playing soccer.
Well, yeah, but even, but I mean, it's like if you don't treat it, you're mowing weeds basically, so it's like, you know, how do you keep grass or clover or whatever?
So obviously, there's going to be maintenance and at least maintaining in the fields, weekly mowing, etc. With respect to you know, the planting schedule, I know we've been discussing with the district, you know, making sure that we're allowed, not necessarily to address your specific question, but these are some of the other considerations that come up, making sure that we can do snow removal in our parking lots. In other words, not overplanting our islands or along the perimeter of the areas, as well as, you know, every facilities director of every school that I've worked with reminds me that we're not landscapers. So we're not, you know, we need to make sure that the trees that we're planting, you know, we're not overplanting perennials and that type of stuff, and, you know, flower beds everywhere. So the selection of plants has been strategic, and it's, in terms of the turf that's there, we will have seed mixtures. The maintenance of them is something that we'll make sure that we discuss with the district. But I don't, Will, do you want to save me here?
No.
I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's a challenge. We got a tight spec, when you can plant originally, how you can establish it. The contractor owns it for a warranty period, but when it gets turned over to the district, it's just a matter of maintenance. And you're right, you can't put chemicals on it, so you just gotta work with what you got.
I want to piggyback on that. I was looking at something, probably more than aware, but I signed a Vincent last week. It dawned on me that my employer is part of a pollinator pathway program. I think they actually have grants that they give out. Here in Cheshire, a recent homeowner got a partial grant to help get rid of his chemicals in lawn and turn it more into garden spaces, grasses, things that are eco-friendly to the environment. And some of that was partially paid, so it could be an opportunity, if not now down the road, to turn more green spaces into those pollinator pathways, not just for animals concerning chemicals, but maybe even to, you know, involved in the environmental program at some point. But I'm still looking into that.
I did find some information on the RWA website, so I do have that link. And just to kind of, you know, circle back to what, you know, Will and Justin said, we did spend a lot of time, you know, with Rich Clavette, our facilities director, looking at the plans, and they were modified so that we could do our snow removal, and, you know, didn't feel from a maintenance point of view that we're overplanting. It's going to be beautiful, but we think that it's something that we can maintain. We're doing it today, right? You know that we can't use any pesticides. We could do some organic weed prevention, and we try and do as much of that as we can, but this will fall in line with the regular maintenance schedule, and our outside grounds crew will take care of it. You know, and I'm hoping they give us as little weeds in the grass seed that they plant as possible.
I mean,
They will occur naturally, to your point.
the weeds that were in the back of my property now, because we have them under control, are the same ones that were in that field just 3 months ago, so that's why. They're very, very vigorous. So my last question is, there is no irrigation, correct?
Correct.
It's just whatever, the rain, right? Okay.
Can I
And
tag on
I'm
to
done,
the?
thank you.
Oh. Can I tag on to the landscaping? Are we paying attention to native species of whatever
Yes.
we're putting in?
Yeah, and that was a point that was brought up in our review with planning and zoning, and the landscape architect there were a couple of modifications in between our first submission and our resubmission, or our updated submission, to make sure that we are having non-invasive species native.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, so you said before the generator's gonna be 800 kW? What's the idea behind the peak for that? Like, what is it? Is it a July afternoon where the grid goes down, December? Like, 800 kW sounds like a lot to me.
It does, but since you're an all-electric school, it requires a little bit more horsepower. We have all-electric heat.
So then is it for routine usage if the power goes down? Or is it for like the heating and cooling facility? That's what I'm getting at, I
It's
guess.
for both. So it's designed to maintain tenable environment for students to operate, to be in here within the winter is the worst condition. Heat pumps require more energy
Yep,
during the winter than you do with the cooling.
yep,
So it's sized to handle that, keep the building fully occupied under not perfect conditions, but just enough to keep the building to keep it comfortable. But since it isn't all electric, we have to keep the heat pumps running, we got all the lights running. We do not have the kitchen running, but everything else is on. That's the size we need in order to handle the building.
so it's really designed for regular school use, not for sort of like critical facilities when the power goes out?
No, it's designed, if the idea is, if the power goes out before they go to school,
Got it,
they don't come to school.
yep,
If the power's out while they're there, they stay there till the end of the day. So it has to maintain building operations, that's what it's designed for.
okay, and that makes total sense to me. I'm just wondering, is like, cause you mentioned, where my head went originally was the sort of critical facility or almost critical facility, I know it's not that exactly, but, space, so you're heating space. Are the gym and the cafeteria gonna have the high ceilings?
They do, but they're gonna operate that under normal conditions anyway. So we'll be able to heat it without any issue.
So I guess my question is, if you just took out like one or two of those rooms out of the normal, you can't really do the cafeteria.
Well,
the
from
gym,
a
you
warming
can do.
center.
I'm wondering how much of that 800 kW goes into those two rooms, just because there's massive volume of space.
Oh, no, it has nothing to do with the volume,
Oh, does it?
it's just the capacity, what's necessary to heat it. The volume doesn't really come into play under those conditions.
Okay,
But since it is a warming center, the size is driven more to maintain those conditions for the public to come in the event of an issue.
yeah, okay.
When we operated Highland after Isaiah's, we exclusively used the cafeteria and gym as a cooling center.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense, and I'm just thinking, I was thinking if there's more space, there's more energy required, that's all. And then, wood turtles, did you already talk about wood turtles?
Would you like me to?
I love to hear like already
We haven't, but we can. We have done extensive studies.
Okay, so as many of you may have known, we had a herpetologist go out on the great turtle investigation of 2024. And the result was we found 0 eastern ribbon snakes, 0 turtles. However, based on the conversation with the NDDB, National Database for National Biologic,
National Diversity Database.
Biological Diversity Database. They recommended that, even though we did not find anything, the habitat is present, is there for the potential presence of particularly the turtles. So this little dashed line out here is, when you see it, it will not be a volleyball, beach volleyball area. It is a habitat that is being built for turtles. It's basically a sand area to allow for potential nesting of turtles. And that was a request by DEEP as a condition of our overall approval with the state.
And is there like netting that sends in that direction, or, because I thought you were gonna have.
You build a sand pit and the turtles will come.
How big is it?
I guarantee you, I can tell you, they will come.
How big an area?
No matter where you
It's
go.
like 80 feet by 40, something off the top of my head.
It's by 3 feet deep or 4 feet deep.
It's a lot of eggs. Space.
The important thing is they went out there 4 or 5 times during the prime breeding season and didn't find any.
Yeah, no, it was 10 years ago. I saw him down there myself, and I just went on a little walk through the river in like probably April, I'm thinking. So I know they were there, but they may not be there anymore.
Well, now I have a reason to come back.
And what's the distance between that and where the river is? How far are we from the river?
Well, we had to place that upside of the upland review area because we didn't have permission to go into that upland review area. So, off the top of my head, it's 100 feet is the upland
So
review
we're
area.
quite a distance from the river.
So the river's probably 120.
And we're not
150.
disturbing any of that.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
We're not touching the upland review area.
But not too far for the turtles to get a drink.
Well, the students can study the turtles.
Sorry, one last question. Tony, I think you'll like this one. Is the kitchen all electric or is it propane?
All electric.
All. So that what, we have all induction or something, or or is it regular? Do we know? Like,
It's,
does the staff have to be retrained? Because I'm pretty sure all the other kitchens are.
So some electric ovens,
Yes.
high efficiency microwaves for that type of environment.
yes,
Air fryer.
Probably induction tops maybe, because it could be wrong, but I don't think there's as much as a need these days for big gas ovens and gas.
yeah,
pots.
and the kitchens do not have a grill.
Right, well,
So
yeah.
it's mostly oven, heating, so.
We spent a lot of time with this issue, and we're okay with it. I mean, we don't do any stovetop cooking or anything like that. The items that we're purchasing are about as efficient as they come today, so that'll be helpful.
And lastly, I'd just like to congratulate everyone, because this plan is fantastic. And I'm like sitting there seeing that media portion with the steps, I'm thinking, man, if I got to go to that school, that would have been pretty neat. You know, so, like you said, the future generations of kids, I think, are gonna really like this school. So congratulations, and thank you for all your hours of hard work. I'm sure it's many, many hours, hundreds of hours probably, so.
I've been a principal for many years. I've been in a lot of buildings in my life. Boy, I'd love to run this one. It's going to be an absolute beautiful school. No, thank you.
Chairs, I have one quick question. So last week at the board meeting, we opened the schools report, we were talking about the enrollment numbers, and Vincent, you mentioned that if we had to add classrooms in the future, that there is a location or two. Where is that on the map? Which side of the school?
Right there, each wing.
Oh, I see. Got it.
There's
Awesome.
two classrooms on each side, so
Okay.
you could add 4 classrooms
Great, thank you.
in those spots.
Has there been any thought as far as how much that would cost to throw another classroom on there? Anybody? No.
Well, I mean, if you added it now,
We're looking if you were gonna put permanent additions on, not portables.
It would actually probably hurt our reimbursement if we did it now, correct? So that's one of the related issues.
You're restricted by the size of the school.
Yeah.
basically.
No, we were thinking in the future, you know, if development continues in that north end, you know, at least we now have, if needed in the future, the ability to expand, where we don't really have that capability today. So that's good. I like the, long story short, thank you for thinking about that long term.
So it is worth noting that both sites have this capability, so between both schools, you have the ability to add 8 additional classrooms, which, you know, if you maximize the students that are in them, you know, you're somewhere around 160 plus students to add to both of those schools.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, just iterate what Adam said, thank you so much. I've been watching the committee when I can over the last 2 years. It was 2 years ago when we had the interviews to volunteer, so I couldn't be happy with all your work and all our consultants and vendors on board, so thank you, and, you know, we're very excited for this and appreciate all the work you're doing, and there's a lot more to be done, but, thank you.
Thank you. I will point out, because you were talking about the square footage, is that this building is slightly over the state guidelines. And because of that, we put in a space waiver. The overage is largely, as I understand it, due to special ed programming, particularly the pre-K program, which is, as you know, a very unique special program that requires more square footage than your typical classroom with 18 to 22 students. The state did not approve the space waiver. I met with the town council on Tuesday evening and suggested that they'd speak to our state legislators and see if they could get some additional legislation through to give us reimbursement for that overage. We'll see what happens, sir.
Thank you.
Can I just go back to the potential of expansion, if beyond the expansion that we might need more space, we might have some portables, would there be room to even insert those? I know I'm going a little extreme, but.
Well, what I would, I know Justin's gonna bring that up. One thing I would say is that the plan right now, based on enrollment, is when we redistrict, the Highland school population will be brought down to 725. We're at about 913 right now. So in theory, one place where we could add more students is Highland before we have to add new construction. And we'll have 2 very nice new portables there by Thanksgiving. But yeah, so I'll let you answer the question.
Yeah, I mean,
modular.
we usually don't build in the potential for portables in our master planning, but we are often, we're often working on, you know, a resolution to a site that already has portables on it. I think if you ever got into a pickle where you may needed to have more than an additional classroom on the main level and the upper level, you know, there's likely a little bit more space to, you know, we said we can satisfy the need. You know, I'll be honest with you, this is not fully baked. We know that the space is there. You know, maybe you can fit 2 more each if you come off this way and, you know, maybe do something in this room here. So I think that would probably be the solution over portables if you're going to do it once. You know, if you're doing it multiple times over the course of, you know, 10 to 20 years, then you may have other discussions in your district. But I think the solution, I think there's enough space when you start looking at the available space on the site plan to kind of target the areas that we're targeting for expansion. It makes sense to keep the curriculum space within the learning communities, you know, because if you needed to have, it makes the specials, you're going to, it's a matter of scheduling. The actual classrooms, the period, the curriculum classrooms, gen ed classrooms are what your space needs will be.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions, committee members? You've seen it all.
So the
You've lived
intent
it.
tonight is for us to do 2 motions that we're voting on.
No, there's one motion.
There's only one.
The committee has to vote, and then the Board of Ed has to vote. There's a separate motion, but it's a single motion. So I'll read the motion. Next Generation School Building Committee, motion number 1. I move that the Next Generation School Building Committee approve the construction documents consisting of the final drawing set, specifications, and project manuals for the North End Elementary School, state project number 025-0103N, as presented and dated September 6, 2024, and the professional cost estimates from O&G Industries dated September 6, 2024. That would be the first motion. The second motion is identical for the Board of Ed. If we're ready, do I have somebody to make that motion?
I'll make.
Do you have it memorized? You
Yeah.
have it? Okay. Do I have a second?
Ditto, Sean.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
That's
7,
not-
8.
Well, ours is so similar that I'm looking at it.
I'll turn it over to you for the
Okay,
board.
so the board motion, I move that the Cheshire Board of Education approve the construction documents consisting of the final drawing set, specifications, and project manuals for the North End Elementary School State Project, hashtag 025-0103N, as presented and dated September 6, 2024, and the professional cost estimates from O&G Industries dated September 6, 2024. All those in-
Second.
Oh, second. Thank you, Tony. All those in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Now, we have one more motion. This is all done by the attorney, by the way. So, for the committee, I move that the construction documents as approved this evening by the Building Committee and the Board of Ed for the North End Elementary School State Project number 025-0103N be submitted to the State of Connecticut DAS/OGA, Department of Administrative Services / Office of Grant Administration, for its written approval. That's a slight word difference, as Dennis had pointed out. We had put down government accountability instead of grants administration. Do we have a motion? Dennis, second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. And we are off and running.
This is just a logistical question,
Yeah.
as far as in the estimated costs and so forth. I should have asked it earlier, sorry, Justin. But in the event that there might need to be adjustments within, we do not have to convene again to vote on any particular price or cost adjustments moving forward.
No, in fact, this is when we go in front of the state, there are commonly requests to modify documents. You know, can you add a note here? Can you maybe reorient something here? Those all become, we modify them according to the state request. Those all become part of the final plans and specifications and are the subject of the review. So your approval is consistent with other projects as they've been submitted to the state, as well as the project manuals and the drawings and the cost estimates prior to going to the state. I'll give you an example. There were a number of things that were requested when we went to the phase 1 approval that our plan reviewer asked us to clarify or add something to be overly clear, I guess, if I could be polite to some of the comments, but we routinely are compelled to modify those. If we need to come back, I've never had that requirement to come back and kind of validate the modifications that were done through that approval process. But if that is a requirement of this body, we're happy to do so.
I guess that is my question. Is there a requirement that we have to, or is the oversight and decision-making now left to you guys to handle the in-between process? I'm sorry, Tony, what did you say?
Oh, that's the committee's responsibility.
Okay. Just, go ahead, Justin.
I will say, I mentioned we're in phase 2 of 4, which is general construction. We're gonna do this all again for phase 3 and 4. It's gonna be a much more modest presentation for furniture, FF&E furniture, fixtures and equipment, IT, and playscapes. So the reason why those are put into a subsequent phase It's because these are things like interactive display boards, wireless access points, furniture, that you don't necessarily want to be buying now for delivery and installation in 2 years, because by that time, some of
They'll
the
be
bulbs may
outdated.
be obsolete, et cetera. So we typically go through that later process and do a pull schedule for when we know that they need to be delivered, which in this case will be the summer of 2026. So we will likely be coming to you approximately 6 to 7 to 8 months prior to that date for this type of presentation. Yes.
We'll be seasoned by then.
Yes.
You get to do this again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
We get-
Well, that's what I
That was
was
my
gonna
next
say.
question.
We are expecting the plans for Norton School to be complete and to be coming to us on Monday. And those will be sent around to you also. It will be very similar to what we did today. And
Clarify.
2 weeks,
A week from Monday.
a week from Monday,
Yes.
you're right, okay.
Thank you.
Getting nervous?
My time just got a little tighter.
No, let's not start this, come on. Anyway, a week from Monday, and then 2 weeks from today, we are scheduled to have another meeting exactly like this to do the Norton plans.
Yeah.
And send those off.
Can I just ask one more question for you? This is real quick, it's, did you guys, well, my question would be on the security of the buildings proper. Did you have a meeting devoted to that? Is there a meeting that can be referenced that?
No, we had an executive session.
Oh,
Because
wow, okay.
that was something we did not want to do in public session. Went through all of the security arrangements within the building. And the committee was satisfied with what the architects had designed.
So it's been addressed?
It's been addressed, it was addressed extensively
Okay.
by the committee. But it was done in executive session, so there's no minutes.
Of course.
I hope not.
Yeah, just to your point, Sam, about the committee coming back to talk to us again, I'm totally happy to defer to the judgment of everybody here, and I really appreciate everything that everybody's done. At the same time, if you do feel like something is going wrong, I personally would like it if you feel like you should come back to talk to us. Like, don't be afraid of that and say, oh, they didn't want to hear from us. It really depends on your opinion on whether you think it should come back to us.
Right, and that was not my intent to defer, you know.
The two chairs have an ongoing dialogue, and if something's coming up,
Well, and I have to say, having done other projects in other school districts, the cooperation that we've had between the Board of Ed, the Next Generation School Building Committee, the Town Council, has been fantastic. People are all very, very interested, and they want what's going to be a really good building and for this town that's going to be something we can be proud of for the next 50 years.
Or more.
Yeah, well, I won't be here to see that. I don't know, we're gonna get on a routine of replacing buildings, so I don't know that they're all gonna have to last 70, 80 years, but we'll see. Yeah, do you want a motion to adjourn the Board of
To
Ed?
adjourn the board, please.
So moved.
Ann, second? Tim? The board can adjourn unless you want to stay and. Oh, yeah, sorry. All those in favor of the BOE adjourning this meeting?
All right,
Unanimous.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, you're more than welcome to stay.
Thanks for the invitation.
Right?
It's not like you have other meetings that you could go to. Public correspondence comments. Sarah?
So we did receive a comment, that was emailed to all of us on the committee. A family, had inquired about the, water, flow and, any water flow issues, because they noticed it on their property. Luckily, Rich was able to respond, provide them with, some of the research, and they have not written back.
Well, yes, he did.
Oh, yeah, well, just to you, okay.
Yeah, just to me. So the question was in terms of the water flow that's going into Farmington Drive and what we're doing in terms of our plans at Norton. And so we did send them the data that had been developed as part of that. And he said basically look through it. He saw the retention areas that were there. I said to him, you know, there's more than just that, but that obviously is a major piece of it. But I also suggested that he may want to talk to the town engineers, that we can only deal with the water that's coming from our property. And, you know, and our discussion with inland wetlands was how are we going to handle the discharge from our property. But I know that a number of neighbors in that area have had some water concerns, but a lot of it is not coming off of our property. It's you know, other issues there. So they may want to talk to the town about it, and that's where it was left.
Mr. Chair, I have a little bit of more information there. I know the, this is weird. Do you want us to move to like another spot or?
That would be fine. It's like talking to someone in a railroad car here.
Well, we'll funnel there. I know the town is going through an exercise right now to figure out the stormwater of those abutting properties. So that, I know for a fact, and Sean, it's being handled through the town engineer's office, so.
Well, that's why I asked him to talk to the town. I didn't want to get in the middle of that. And I don't think I noted it, but, you know, Ryan had also gone over with a different neighbor and had spoken to him, but that family also noted that they had flooding, and they've had it for many, many years, and it had nothing to do with the work that we're doing, putting in the access road or anything like that. So, you know, it is a concern of some of the neighbors, but it's not largely or exclusively a Norton school issue. Okay, anything else? All right.
No other correspondence?
All right, thank you. Approval of meeting minutes, August 22nd, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, a second? Second, Megan? Any discussion? All those in favor? It is unanimous. Chairman's report, two things. Fall Festival is on Saturday. O&G has some people that are coming to set up, and then I think Ryan is spending most of the day there.
I'll be there 9 to 4.
Yep. My experience in the past has been things kind of close down, you know, a little after 2 o'clock, that you use your judgment, but you may find that the time after 2 o'clock isn't well used, and you want to close it down at that point. Tecton is also going to have somebody there during the whole time. I didn't have who was going to be there, but they're making arrangements for that. Greg has volunteered from our committee to be there from 11 to 12:30, and Dennis has volunteered to be there from 12:30 to 2. I'd love to have somebody go from 10 to 11 if there's anyone who is available.
I have to work. We have dance class.
We have dance class.
We have dance class.
If not, they'll get along without us, but, all right. But anyway, and you had some drawings that Justin had sent around, I think today, that looked absolutely beautiful. Did you want to?
So I printed them out, the boards that we're gonna be bringing, so these can also be, you know, for everybody's use. I'll come back to you.
And I will put some of these on our Facebook page also.
Yeah.
So these are just some, the north end ones are ones that you've seen in the presentation earlier. But, so there are two boards each, for each school. First one, the site plans and exterior renderings, then followed by the interior renderings as well as the floor plans and kind of some diagrams there. Norton, the updated exterior renderings and interior renderings, site plan, same thing. So,
Well, we had wonderful feedback last year at the festival. Lots and lots of people, very excited, very pleased. A couple of people with specific questions regarding, things like lighting and stuff like that. But I'm expecting to get a lot of nice positive oohs and ahs. And we'll have people do a report at our next meeting, hear how it went. So thank you, everyone who's involved. I did do a presentation to the town council. It wasn't on our agenda here, but to the town council on Tuesday. I walked them through the work that's going on presently with our phase one, discussed the process that we're going through at the moment with phase two approval for North End and for Norton. Talked a little bit about the space waiver question, and that did elicit a number of comments from town council members regarding the reasoning and the cost that might be involved with our not getting reimbursement on that square footage. And recommended, and Sean had already had it on a listing, that it be looked at by our state legislators. And then the other thing was something that Vince had brought to our attention several months ago, which was a new piece of legislation for pre-K to age 5 programs, construction, and some additional reimbursement that was available, which Rich Sipnick had looked into and found that we weren't eligible since our program was already approved. And once again, we recommended that the state legislators look at that one and try to put something through that would give us that reimbursement. So that also was added to the list, and we'll see what happens. We know how the legislation gets so backed up at the end, and a lot of stuff doesn't see the light of day, but we'll see. And that's about it. I mentioned to him some of the erosion control that we've been looking at, and that's been settled. I've shared that with you. Chris had walked the 2 sites, had questions or concerns regarding some of the erosion control. We had shared that with Tecton. Ryan had walked it and responded to it.
Will, you're the one who, oh, sorry, that Ryan. I thought you were talking about Vanessa's Ryan.
Yeah, no, Ryan had initially gone through, and then I believe, Will, that you had gone back again and responded to it. So I think we're in good shape now in terms of making sure that the erosion control is really well implemented. Anything else on that? Good. Financial procedures, invoices.
7 invoices, 4 for Norton and 3 for North End.
So the first one is environmental services, Eagle Environmental for Norton School, $4,768.75. Do I have a motion?
Sure.
So moved. Second? Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. The second one is architectural services for Tecton Architects, also for Norton, $120,518.47. Do I have a motion? Dennis, second?
Second.
Sean, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Third is pre-construction services for O&G Industries, again for Norton Elementary, $10,324. Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Greg, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And unanimous. Moving right along, Owner representative services for Arcadis for the Norton Elementary, $6,321.93. Do I have a motion on that? Dennis? A second? Meg? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Sean, did you vote on that? Sorry. And unanimous. For the North End Elementary School, Architectural Services, Tecton, $135,840. Do I have a motion? Dennis? A second?
I'll second.
Greg? Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Pre-construction services, O&G, for the North End, $10,324. Motion, Dennis, second? Meg? Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And unanimous. And again, for North End, owner representative services, Arcadis, $6,488.45. Motion by Dennis, seconded. Greg? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And unanimous again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just want to make a point. Now that the space waivers have been denied by the state, we have not been submitting for construction grant reimbursement because we weren't sure what the reimbursement percentage would be. So I just want to confirm that since that's happened, we could start the process of, working with Arcadis and getting reimbursement.
yeah, we discussed that at our last meeting.
Okay.
We had an option to either go back to the state and try to get them to change their mind on the space waiver. It was decided at that time that it was gonna hold up reimbursements, and it was unlikely to change their decision. So we said, let's go ahead and begin to process those payments and go through the legislative process. So yes.
Yeah, I know Emily's been working on a package, so.
Okay, I didn't know that, and I apologize.
No, that's okay.
But
Yep.
very good.
Okay. No change orders, I assume.
No change order.
Okay. CM at Risk, Phase 1 construction update. Laurel?
Does anybody else want, Brian, you want to give an update? Sure. Pass out the schedule?
And you have the schedule, yeah.
I do.
Okay, for the Norton project, we have completed all construction with the exception of finishing the road and installing the culvert in the back of Norton off Sheridan Drive. The culvert is in the review process right now. The design team did a quick turnaround on the initial. There were a few minor issues with it that did require a resubmission. That resubmission went in today. So we should see that in sometime next week. Hopefully we'll see that response. We'll get that in order, and they are still targeting a early to mid-October for the installation of the culvert. I did speak with the project manager for Richards. They will need about 2 weeks prior to that to do their prep work, putting in the cofferdams, building out the road back there so that they can bring that culvert in. Like I said, beginning to mid-October. We'll know the exact date once we get the approved submittal. And then I will notify everyone about that, and we will get that project underway. That will be the remainder of the work that we have at Norton for this phase 1 area.
How much regrading is gonna be done on that access road?
So the access road has to, right now they have to dig down quite a bit because it's pretty soft soil right now, so they'll have to build it up to a sub base that it can withstand, obviously.
Is it gonna be basically flat when it's done?
Yeah, it'll be
Right
probably.
now, it looks like,
Yeah.
it goes,
Well, in the back behind the stream, it will go, but it still will go up. We're not gonna do a large cut there, but the culvert, where the culvert stands, the road will come up to meet the culvert, and then they'll grade it so that it meets it as a smooth transition into the road on the opposite side of the stream. It'll generally probably stay mostly around the sidewalk elevation. They'll remove the curb at the entrance to that and build out a driveway skirt for that. area.
And crushed stone is put down, or is it, when is it being
It's,
paved?
what we call gravel, it's a mix of, it's a compacted dirt and stone mixture. There will be, stone tracking pads at the entranceway, both, on either side of the stream, so that to any dirt material, soil that's on the truck tires will theoretically come off within those two tracking pads. That's
And it
what
won't be
they're
paved
for.
until the very end of the
No,
project?
it will not be paved until a later phase.
Okay. And anything on moving the telephone poles?
So we issued the check I issued the purchase order and got it approved last Friday. I believe the check went out this week to Eversource, so I will be reaching out to Mike Prentice with Eversource, he's my contact there. And he will be out, he will give me the schedule. Now, we have no control over Eversource, as everyone knows, they kind of dictate to you. But he had said that he thought he would be able to get it turned around in about 4 weeks from the time they receive the check.
Okay.
They will not do anything until they have payment in hand, so they should have the check, hopefully, if not tomorrow, or already, then early next week, that'll be in their hands. Worst case scenario, it got sent out in today's check run.
Okay.
So Thursday's kind of our check run for the school, or for our company.
No recent comments from neighbors?
I have not heard anything. The most recent was obviously the email from the newest neighbors, but from the neighbors that I met with and from Olga, I mean, I've been in contact, we've had a few text messages back and forth, but no complaints, no issues, no real, anything other than just minor communication.
Good.
On the north end, they established, they've completed all their clearing that they're going to do in all the area. They've set up all of the temporary sediment traps. All the erosion control has been installed and is being maintained. The building pad was brought up to its final grade yesterday. They completed that, the final compaction. They have all the settlement platforms installed. They took their initial survey of those settlement platforms yesterday, and I submitted that to the design team this afternoon for the initial. Now they will also do surveys to do monitoring every 5 days for the next 4 weeks, which comes out to roughly six total surveys of that. At that time, we will be in communication with Benesh and their geotechnical engineer to determine, do we need to utilize the allowance and continue monitoring for the additional portion of up to 6 weeks that we have in the allowance. That'll be determined by the design team. If not, after the 4 weeks, Richard will be done with all construction on the site. They will just then have the maintenance of the site and the erosion controls.
Good. It's exciting to see.
Yes.
To now see where the building's going and the basic layout. And, love taking a ride up that way.
If you have a chance to go by, just it's really impressive to see the kind of earthwork moving that they did and how much that pad actually came up. I took a picture of it. Unfortunately, the picture does no justice for what you see when you actually stand out there at the top. So
Yeah, I did a couple pictures also that I put on Facebook, but you're right, it's not the same as when you're actually there.
So we are fully fenced, and they are going to start the lawn maintenance on the outside of that fencing. The one thing that I think Rich will bring up a little bit later is to establish the color of the scrim that goes on that fencing. Unfortunately,
We did that already.
We did, and we can bring it up now. The Cobalt is no longer available.
Oh, that was Dennis's choice. He loved that color. You're gonna give us some boring green, I know.
There are 4 colors. It's a red, navy, a navy, a black, or a green.
Yeah.
The navy's pretty close to the cobalt color. It's not exact, obviously, but it is more in line with the cobalt. So it is this committee's right to make that determination of what you
Get
want.
another manufacturer.
Do you want a decision right now? What do you want? Dennis, I'll,
Probably the green.
Yeah.
you're going with the green?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Definitely not red.
No, I don't think the neighbors would appreciate it, right?
Okay.
All right, I guess we're going with
notify
green.
Richard, they will get it ordered, and as soon as it comes in, they will get that installed.
Okay, I wondered about that when I went through. The huge pile of topsoil that's there, how much of that is staying on site and how much of that is leaving?
All that's staying on site right now in this phase.
For now, yeah.
Yes, right now. So what they are currently doing is utilizing some of that topsoil to put 6 inches of topsoil all over the slope. Once that topsoil is completed, which should be some point next week, they will then bring in their hydroseed crew, and they will have that whole site, with the exception of the building pad itself, hydroseeded for prior to the end of this month.
Oh, okay. All right, very good.
Make sure you pick out the weeds.
Weed-free.
Just the nuclear.
Laurel, schedule.
Okay, so there's a lot to go through because we're at that point where there's a lot of activities going on. We're gearing up, we're getting ready to be done with everything, so you're gonna see that there's a lot of activities to talk about. So again, focusing on just the next 6 weeks, so we can keep concentrated on what's ahead. Obviously, everybody's aware we're meeting with the state next Wednesday, and we have our scheduled meeting with the state at Norton on October 2nd, and these are when we're anticipating going out to bid the next 2 dates. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go to page 2. These are just the milestones. Page 2, structural steel pre-detailing effort is ongoing. That will continue to be occurring for the 2 schools up until we're basically going out to bid. If there's some minor changes towards the end, we would be capturing that in addendum, but the idea is that when we go out to bid, we have these files to go with it, so we're on track for that. And then skipping down phase 2 for North End, going down to page 3, we're here where we are, completing the North End bid documents. Just, there's always gonna be some tweaks between now and when we get ready for the state, so they're just doing some final buttoning up odds and ends, and we've got tonight the joint meeting, and then we're going through the whole same process for Norton down below. We do have this, I have this wrong, the special meeting with the Norton, the cost estimate, that was supposed to be the 19th, wasn't it? I had that as the 12th, that's not right. So that should have been the 19th if you guys were gonna do a special meeting to review the Norton cost estimate. I don't know why I have it in there for the 12th.
Well, that's something I think we're gonna have a discussion on
Yep,
in just a little
all right,
bit.
yeah, we'll come back to that.
We had laid out if we needed to have a special
Mhm.
meeting next Thursday,
Right,
depending on the cost estimates. But I'm hopeful that we might be able to handle that today.
all right, so we're still going through the same process as now and getting everything submitted. Again, as was mentioned earlier, submitting the construction documents to the NSNGSBC is on the 23rd. You guys had already mentioned that. And then just kind of tracking the reviews. The reviews are, I'm anticipating 3 weeks per school. I don't know what it's gonna be. It depends. I mean, it depends on when we get going. We'll know after the first day what the feeling is. But we went through a lot for phase 1, so we gotta be able to make 3 weeks, but.
Famous last words.
I know, I can't say that, but that's, so, the perfect world is, we go up there, they take no more than 3 weeks, we will hit the street as soon as we get that letter, but I will not do anything until I see the letter.
I assume next week you were gonna talk to them, they were gonna say, well, everything looks great.
Yeah.
Where do I sign?
All right, flipping up to page 4, so again, same process with Norton. October 2nd, that's our first piece of meeting with them, same thing, well, they're to shave back a day, but really just hoping that, it goes through smoothly. We have, back to North End, obtaining the AHJ sign-offs for North End, and that is something when Justin was showing all the blanks and all that, and I know Rich is on task with that, right? You're on task with that.
Correct.
We have a DOT review encroachment permit that's still kind of hanging out there for Norton. That does not impact us with the state at all. It's just one more regulatory approval that we're just tracking. And then, again, just the staggering of Norton now, where we need to obtain the AHJ sign-off. So that process will be happening. Skipping down to page 5, then we have our bidding that we're anticipating. So again, as soon as I see the letters, I go out to bid, so if Jeff sees a letter, make sure I see it, as soon as somebody sees a letter, just make sure that I get it so that we can hit our go button. Anticipating 5 weeks of bidding per project, and then we'll be scoping and doing everything that we need to do. And then just reiterating the process here, that we want to be able to award critical contracts in order to keep the schedule moving before the GMP is established. So at some point, we should talk about that just to make sure everybody's aware of what it is that I'm after. When we come to you with that, you'll have a financial summary of where the whole project is. It just won't be the final GMP, like we won't have a whole huge document together. But that just kind of keeps us on schedule to award our critical contracts. We have submittals and procurement that we're still tracking. This is all from the phase 1. And Ryan had already mentioned about the culvert. And then last page, page 6, Again, just tracking the phase 1 construction and then the utility poles, so a lot of stuff is going on right now, the next 6 weeks.
When plans were looked at by the local building people, fire people, et cetera, were there any comments, questions, concerns?
No, while we were going through the planning and zoning process, we had a number of meetings with all of those departments. We also have the third-party code consultant for Steve, who issued their comments, and that is who I think the building official and the fire marshal are also relying on, our response to those. I forwarded you our cover letter response for Steve. I also have hard copies if the NGSBC wants it, but so far, no, there haven't been any, I haven't heard of any additional questions.
No, actually, when the plans came out, we printed hard copies and brought them down to building department, town engineer, and the fire marshal. I think we did an electronic copy for West Frolica.
Yes, Chester.
So, no comments. We also then took the independent code consultants' review and sent it to those individuals, and we haven't heard anything. So I will be approaching them early next week to get their signatures on the form that you just signed there, as well as the documents that are over there. So.
All right, good.
All right, so do you want to circle back on the Norton, talk just quickly about the Norton estimate and meeting next week?
Yeah, we can do that right now. The issue, as you know, is that we've had to do cost estimates on each of the 2 projects. In the case of the north end, the cost estimate showed that we had enough funds to meet the project. In the case of Norton School, we are slightly over budget, and I assume there was a reconciliation meeting that was done yesterday, and I'll turn it over to Laurel to kind of walk you through where we're at right now.
You're right, so it was actually on, what day was it? Wednesday? Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday, because I met with Rich at 9 yesterday morning, and he said, I've got this all-day meeting after that.
Yeah, it was yesterday, but it was a lifetime ago.
Seems like days ago. Anyhow, we're slightly over budget, meaning like 100,000+, okay, out of 64 million. We have 64 million, we're a little bit over 100,000 over budget right now. But in that number, and this is not what we were carrying at DD, remember there's some linear wood ceilings that was also, we called it a deduct alternate in North End. It's in your North End project, and you can peel it back out. We're doing the same approach at Norton, and that credit is worth 121,000. So if we're right with our estimate and the bids come in and you're $114,000 over budget, you could always just take out these linear wood ceilings and put in a regular acoustical ceiling. It's not regular, it's still a nice high-end acoustical ceiling, but it's not the wood look. So that's a savings, Grace. But to be as close to budget as we are, we eliminated or took out of the cost estimate building that temporary parking lot. So when we turn over the school, the new school, after the summer of 2026, I don't know if people remember or not, but when we turn that school over, we're still out front demolishing the building, and we have to build the parking lots. And we said we're gonna, we need to get that paved by the time the asphalt plants close in November. However, that's the main parking lot and bus loop for the entire school. So the idea was, and this is what we did at DD, we threw in a number to carry some sort of a temporary parking lot where the field is. We don't have a site drawing of Norton, right? We don't have a site plan, no? You have something on your plans? Yeah. So, the idea was to construct a temporary parking lot to give the staff a place to go. That's a very, very, very expensive lot. So it's about $442,000 just to build that lot and take it out at a later time. So, we don't have that in our estimate right now. We are recommending to bid it as an ad alternate. This way, everything is still on budget per se, because we're close enough, 100,000 is close enough. You go out to bid, you get your bids in, depends on how your bids go, maybe you come in under budget and you can award it right away, but at least you'll have an idea of what it will cost to build this parking lot. And in the meantime, the district can analyze other options, because it's gonna cost money to do shuttle, no matter what, it's gonna cost money, but at least you'll have an option. But that's just our recommendation, otherwise we'd be looking to shave off $400,000.
While you're taking down the original building, where are the buses coming in?
When we're taking down the original build, everybody's coming in the front door. So, okay, so, I mean,
I will, just for the sake of transparency, the third-party cost estimate is approximately $1 million under the Norton budget. So there is, and this has kind of been similar at every, our cost estimator has been tracking lower than O&G's estimate. For the purposes of our reporting to the state, we use O&G's number, but both of them
So that
sit.
when we go out to bid, we potentially could find
So-
that O&G's numbers are high.
So the overall delta prior to reconciliation was about $3.5 million. With the third-party cost estimator was lower, O&G was higher. At the end of the reconciliation, we're about 1.1, 1.2 million
you're
apart.
only at 1.8% or something.
Yeah. So there is a range in what the two estimates have shown. It's just the one that we use for record is the
Right.
one that's showing that we're.
So the temporary parking lot that we were talking about is gonna be in the area of this field. It's gonna be left as a field in the end, but it was it was an ideal spot to put the temporary parking lot. And when the construction, when we're all in the front, everybody was gonna come in the front, the staff, the buses, deliveries, everybody was gonna come in the front, go, and then there would be different traffic patterns, the buses were gonna peel off, go around the building. Parents would be able to operate the way they normally do, and then teachers would come in, and I assume that they would go out with the buses or however that needs to go. That hasn't gotten designed yet, but it's an expensive thing, and I don't know if Justin agrees with me, but I wouldn't recommend trying to find $400,000 to cut out the building to cover this lot right now.
So even if the parking lot isn't built, the buses can still get in, drop off?
Yeah, the
and move
buses will
on?
still be able to get in, and we'll do a little temporary.
You'd have to do some
We'll do a
paving
little
along the
temporary
side there.
paving there, so that they won't have to come back out. They'll come in, they're gonna cross over, this will be gone. Our idea is to get the gym down and this addition down right away, because we need to build this and we need to have this clear. They'll go around the building, we'll give them some sort of a turn that they can make, and they will go out that way. So will deliveries. So after school, when deliveries come in, because they need to access this side of the building, delivery trucks will do the same thing, they will come out as well.
And they can do all that while you're demolishing the building?
Yeah, because they'll be skirting around us, we're just gonna have the whole front, and that main road will be open.
All right, so
And
it won't
pedestrians
disturb
also
any of
got-
that. So the issue really becomes a matter of staff parking.
Yes,
More
that's
than-
all it is, because you have visitors per se, right? That's your visitor parking. You really just don't have any place for the entire staff to park.
So that becomes Vince's headache. What do I do with all these teachers if I don't have a parking lot there? You wanna speak to that, Vin?
The options that we talked about, one might be the church across the street, however, we have no way of securing that, locking it down now, It's public knowledge that that church may not be a church anymore, may be sold at some point, so that would be a really easy option. I'm not sure if there's exactly enough spaces, but it would ease the burden. Another alternative we talked about is we have off-site parking and we provide a shuttle, like the back of Cheshire High School off of Elmwood Drive, as an example. So none of that's been committed to, because we don't need to commit to it yet, we're a couple of years out.
How
But I
long-
understand, we understand the
And also, let me just
sensitivity.
reiterate that this is for 3 months.
I know.
That's what I was just gonna ask you. So it's a
3
3-month
months.
period, so
It's
it's
a 3-month lease.
$400,000 to build a temporary parking lot that we're then gonna dig up after,
Well, you're gonna dig it
3
up in the
months.
spring, I might as well leave it there for the winter, they got a place to play, because it'll be a hot mess if you tear it up at the beginning of December. So, we would just leave it there and come back in the spring and take it out.
but the bottom line is, it's still a fair amount of money for a paved parking lot that is only a temporary.
Yep, to get you from beginning of school till the end of November, figure.
Personally,
So we just.
I would rather not have to tell the town that we're spending that kind of money
Yeah, me too.
for a temporary lot like that, but I understand that it's gonna be some inconvenience to the staff. I think if we can work out the parking at the church across the street, there's a fair amount there, and people are used to it, and even if we had to run a little shuttle between there, I mentioned it to my wife, she said, well, it's not that far, I said, the new building's farther back.
Yeah, it'd be like going to the mall, it'd be like walking out and having to walk into the mall, I mean, you gotta do it like that.
Well, it should stay on the open items list until we get a little bit closer.
Yeah, and so the whole thing is, we're gonna be looking for
Doesn't need to
you
be
as
on
a
the old
committee
list,
to be
just-
approving
I'll
the Norton
put it on the
estimate,
list.
right? So, if you think you need to discuss this in detail instead of doing it in front of the Board of Ed at a joint meeting in 2 weeks, then you ought to have a special meeting next week so you can think
Well, I
about
think
it.
we can do it right now. That's- I mean, so, just, yeah, go ahead, Megan?
Okay, well, I was just saying to Sarah, so $400,000, I said to Sean to the church, but, there's such a thing as like an inconvenience fee, like if we're inconveniencing the staff, it's up like a bonus per se, I guess, maybe, like we're inconveniencing you, here's like a payment for your inconvenience, it'll be so much less than $400,000, right? Like, if you ever respond to money, I think like, okay, we're inconvenienced, but here's
They pay
like a
for your
little,
shuttle.
it will pay for your shuttle, and then, here's just a little something.
So the committee's gonna pay for that as it's funded. That's what Megan suggested.
What we
I'm
can
just-
say to
I'm just,
them
like,
is if I gotta find
brainstorming.
$400,000,
$400,000.
I may have to take away some of the technology in the budget, I may have to take away
Like, there's
something
an
else.
appropriate way to say what I'm saying. I'm just
No,
coming
you
up
said it
with
fine.
brainstorming.
I'm just saying, well, who's paying for that? And we're just putting up a little bit of
Yeah,
a
well,
fight on it.
I'm
but-
viewing it a little bit differently in that, we have to balance the budget. Now, you're saying you wanna put this in as an alternate, so we still have an option once the bids come in.
You'll have the bid price, right? And we can have the contractor hold the number. You'll still have time to make your decision. At least you'll know what the risk is to the project, right? At least you'll know what the worst cost is if you have to build it, right? At least you'll know that when you're trying to do the GMP, okay, we know there's this potential that we may have to put in. If you're under budget, you might be able to afford it and buy it.
If we want it.
If you want to, and you can
I
back
mean,
it out
I
later.
still think it's a lot of money for
But I
something
think,
that's
but I
very
think that's
simple.
just, but we should know what the actual price is gonna
Right,
be,
and
because
you-
this is a guess, right?
And the other
Those are-
positive
Yes,
part of this.
educated, yes, but.
The other positive, if we don't do this parking lot, that means we can finish that area and seed it
Right, and be
earlier.
done with
The
it.
kids are gonna get out there a year earlier, and have access to that field.
Right.
How many spaces is the staff parking spot lot have to be?
I don't know, it's to be, I don't know, I have no idea how much that.
80. And, if we, again, to try and get through 3 months, we could ask staff to carpool, meet somewhere and carpool if the church doesn't have, assuming we had the church lot, if there were enough spots. I mean, there's options, I just think it's kind of early to commit to it, but it's certainly an issue that we've talked about, that we're gonna have to figure out a resolution. And I don't disagree, even if it's 250,000, is there a better way to utilize or spend that money?
Yeah, well, you could probably cut the cost just by putting down process of some sort, not paving
Yeah,
it.
but then that gets, that's a little dicey.
Well, yeah, my wife said her shoes would get ruined.
So, yeah, I guess what I'm asking is if you guys are okay with our approach of pulling it out, making it an ad alternate, we got to bid, then we're very close to the budget.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a
Yes.
formal vote. Yes?
Because I'm an architect, so math is not my strong point. But Laurel said we were 100,000 over budget. plus 400,000 for the parking lot, that's 500,000. Just instead of million.
I said the third-party cost estimate was $1 million under your budget.
No, how about ONGs?
O&G's, I said $1 million? When did
Yeah.
I say $1 million?
That they were $1 million over.
I didn't say that they were $1
You
million.
said we were $1 million apart.
I said we were $1 million apart.
Oh, okay. That explains.
Sorry.
So
I'm an architect too, math is not my strong suit.
Yeah.
So presently, Laurel, if we take out the ceiling and we take out the parking lot, where does the estimate stand?
So we're saying that you're $114,000 over budget, and the credit for the ceiling is $121,000. So it puts you slightly under budget
So we're
by
there.
$7,000.
So we're there, we're okay, and we'll have an option of doing the ceiling or not doing the ceiling,
Right,
doing the parking lot or not doing the
right.
parking lot.
But right now, with this 114, the ceilings are in. So you come in over budget, then you have the option to exercise, accept the deduct to get the cost down. And then if you wanna,
And how does the state view us coming in over budget?
well, when we do our state submission estimate, we're just gonna say we're on budget.
I mean, because we could,
The last,
we could take the ceiling out and do that as a regular.
Yeah, but I'd rather just keep it consistent with North End.
Right, but we're not gonna have an issue with the state saying, you know,
No.
your estimate is over budget.
my,
No, 'cause we're just gonna say we're on
It
budget.
won't be.
It's close enough.
my,
Well, the estimate that'll be submitted will be on budget.
Yeah, we're just gonna say we're on budget.
Okay.
my last three school projects through the state were over budget at the time of PCR approval. They all came in at or below budget. Actually, they all came in below budget, but in all three of those scenarios, the committees that we were working with felt that we were close to the target budget to go to bid to understand what the market says. The one thing that I will mention is when we do these estimates, we're looking at what the median cost is, the median price. When you go to the market, you're getting competitive prices. And that's usually, at least lately, what has demonstrated to be the economy that we see on bid day. Now, I think you need to ask your professionals, you know, I think what you're hearing from all of us is that we are on budget, close to budget, within striking distance of budget to warrant going to bid. We are showing a pathway to get to the budget that is currently within the documents through the utilization of the alternates. And, you know, I think that's going to be the story when we come back in 2 weeks, unless as a group you think that we need to discuss the option further or investigate other ways of bringing the budget down.
Committee?
I don't think so. I think it's good where it is.
Can we see some paper?
Meaning,
Well,
The budget, I sent it to you, but it came very late
Came
today.
very late, and I did not.
I forwarded it to you, but it did, I think I got it at, I don't know,
Yeah,
4:30,
it
5
was-
o'clock,
it was
something
late.
like that.
the other,
And I forwarded it to you.
the other thing to note that's going to be in the alternates is a way to handle the potential PVCs that are in the existing building. Right now, what's in the estimate is what I believe to be the worst-case scenario.
Yes.
Worst case.
Assuming that every piece of potentially PVC containing material needs to be disposed of. So that is already embedded in this budget that we're looking at. And I forget what the actual numbers were between demolition and abatement and remediation of the existing building, but I think it was somewhere around,
2 million, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
2.5 million,
Yeah.
something like that.
2.3.
900,000 just for the abatement.
Yeah.
So there will be more alternate, we only had the one alternate at North End for the ceilings, but then we're supposed to do some of the play structure? That canopy structure, Martin, is that gonna be
yeah,
an
that's
alternate?
gonna be alternate number 2,
Okay,
the canopy
So-
structure that,
all right, so there's only
Over
two
At the north
alternate-
end.
yes.
The north end,
That's
those
for
are
the
two.
pre-K program.
Yep. So the wood ceilings for North End is a deduct, the play structure is an add,
Yeah.
but there'll only be two alternates. For Norton, it'll be the deduct with the wood linear ceilings, it would be an add for the temporary parking lot, and then it'll be adds for these PCB options, so
So
it'll
I
be a
don't
little
want
more
to rush
complicated.
you, as I said, the budget came to me late today, but on the other hand, I didn't want to have to feel that we needed to come together next week if we were comfortable with what was being discussed, and didn't need to have a separate meeting. So what would you like to do?
I feel comfortable with what our experts are telling us about the budget and proceeding as Laurel laid out.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that also.
Right? Dennis, I know you're doing a real quick look at the budget there.
No,
It's what, 29 pages long?
I mean, we can look at any questions, we can forward it to you.
Yeah, if you have any
red
questions
flags.
on
The
it.
only important page is page
Fair,
4.
I'll let you have mine. Oh.
Oh.
Do you want a few minutes to take a look at it?
No, I'm good.
Then can we have a motion to proceed as was outlined here with the ceiling as an add and the parking lot as a deduct? Sarah, you're making that motion?
Yes, I'm gonna make that motion.
Okay.
What Rich said.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Greg? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Oh,
Time out.
Yes? You have a question?
Just a suggestion, can we make those add alternates instead of deducts? Usually better value.
Okay, all right, you do it then. Whatever we do, we should be consistent on both, that's all I
So-
ask.
I would amend the motion if that's acceptable.
It's okay with me.
All right, no issue there?
So then, do I have to amend, or does Dennis?
You can accept his amendment.
I accept Dennis's amendment, it sounds really good.
Okay.
What was
Go ahead, could you explain the difference?
Well, the base bid is what basically we're looking at, number wise. If you put an add alternate, that's a value that the contractor is gonna put together to add that.
Right.
If you put a deduct alternate, to the contractors, it looks like, they really want the big picture, but just in case they don't have enough money, so that the value is less at bid time, that's the
PCBs are all gonna be asked.
Works for me.
They're gonna be ads?
So you think you'll get a better price by doing it the other way?
Correct.
Carrying in our estimate.
On the estimate, I got it, okay, got it.
No,
On the alternate, you'll get a better price. I would agree with that.
They'll build it into the rest of it, so.
Yeah, I mean, if it's part of the base bid, you're probably gonna get a more competitive price in the first number, which is why our strategy was for a deduct alternate. But in the scheme of trying to demonstrate that you're on budget at the start, you will get a better alternate number. So you'll get a better number for your add than you will for your deduct alternate. I think we're both saying the same thing, but yes.
Okay.
I just confused
And
everyone.
Laurel, why were you,
I only care about them both being treated the same, all I care about is both projects the same, all
Okay.
that, it's both deducts.
all right. So we're comfortable then? All right, all those in favor? And we move on, good.
Before we
So-
move on, I was wondering about going back to the parking lot issue. The property that we purchased on North Brooksvale, where we have the house, can we convert some of that to parking? I don't know if we looked at that as part of our process, because I don't know originally that we had that house. So that's just another option. We don't need an answer tonight, but, does
It's
that?
gonna be demolished?
I don't know if it's gonna be demolished. They wanna
You
sell
keeping that thing?
it. They wanna sell it.
that's not very big.
The town wants to sell it.
How
It's
big?
not our land.
We're currently.
We
we're
split the
almost-
land.
Right, but we're also working through, we're almost done with the state for a curb cut for the driveway. So the
Okay.
new house can have, for the old house, or maybe a new house that replaces.
I mean, I don't know how much parking we could put on there anyway, but if we could hold off on selling it and use it as parking temporarily, this would.
It's not much left.
But is
after
it, the
garage
driveway
yet,
goes
so,
through what's now pretty much the wood chips, right?
Yeah, it's not much.
So what you're seeing is that open wood chip
No,
area.
when is that driveway going in though? Is that going in after the
You
building's
can't have
demolished?
that, we're there then.
Okay. Just asking.
That's our construction entrance.
We'll continue to work on it.
All right.
Okay,
Shut.
the owner's rep,
So.
contract amendments.
We do have a contract amendment, and I did include that in your package. So, the cover page is from Arcadis, but if you turn the page, it's Eagle Environmental. And as a way of explanation, the Jarvis house is gonna be kept there for construction offices, but when it's done, it's gonna be demolished. Similar to the house on North Brooksville that had a pre-demolition survey done, we need to have a pre-demolition survey done for the Jarvis house. It hasn't been done, and we need to get that accomplished. So, because we procured Eagle through us, this is something that'll amend our contract so that we can bring them on board and have them do the survey.
And this is just because that house came into the project after we started.
It's because, yes, and also because, it's of an age that we have to test it
Right.
for
And it's
asbestos and PCBs and things like that.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense to me. Thank you.
So, Rich, are you planning on doing the survey now, or when ONG leaves?
We can do the survey now. I think we need to get the data so that we can submit it to the state, because it's part of the project. So, the state's gonna wanna see, what the condition of the building is.
And when are we doing the abatement?
That'll probably be done after they vacate.
Other comments or questions? A motion to approve the contract amendment as presented? Second? Dennis? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All right, very good. Unanimous. And we do have a massive open item log here. I didn't even put it on the agenda because I know it's down to almost nothing.
So we've been slowly pecking away at the open items log. A couple of things that are on the log that I'm recommending that we close are the tree and shrubs in the right-of-way on the north end property. That was something that at the last meeting, I think Jeff explained that there will be no plantings within 10 feet of the boundary of the right-of-way so that the roots don't get into the right-of-way. And that was something that I think Jeff acknowledged at the last meeting, so we consider that to be a closed item. We can confirm that CLA has sent a contract to the town. Both Sean and Mike DePrima have confirmed that the agreements are in place, so.
I was asked by a member of the town council what the status of that process is, and I didn't have much of an answer for him. I don't know whether CLA has begun doing any of the work.
We signed it on August 30th, but I didn't hear anything last week.
So it's only been a couple of weeks.
For a couple of weeks, yeah. I talked to Mike DePrima before that, and I said, when the agreement is finalized, please let me know if there's anything that you need. We'll get him whatever information, and also ask them to keep us informed as to, the status of the process as that they start to. I think the first step in the process is that they need to file with the IRS so that they can then, register the project itself, or the projects themselves.
Can we get some kind of a timeline from them, now that we have a contract, so at least if I'm asked by the town council, I can say.
We can get a timeline. And from what I understand, I think, there will be some activity up front, and then there will be a lot of nothing happening, and then it'll start to, pick up again.
Okay. Right. As I said, just in case it's asked, I don't like to sit there and say I don't know what's happening with it.
Understood. And then the other item that's on there is the builder's risk, and I just kept that on there, so, you know, at some point, as we get closer to groundbreaking, Vin and I will make sure that there is a policy in place for both projects.
Okay. All right, that's it for you, Rich?
Yeah, I think Vin mentioned something about, you know, putting the temporary parking lot or the accommodations that we're going to do to shuttle people as an open item log, and I'll put that on there. As he said, it's something that probably isn't something that we'll think about until somewhere in 2025 or early 2026. So it's a long-term open item, but it'll be on there.
Okay, good.
And that's it.
All right.
Thanks.
Justin?
Okay, fairly limited verbal update. I promise I'll make a written update. I'll make it all up in the next written update, but I hope you understand that we've been focusing on getting the documents, responding to some of the third-party comments, as well as the presentation for tonight. So what we're currently working on is the Office of Grants Administration PCR checklist. It's a checklist of about 7 pages that detail various forms that need the superintendent's signature, checklist items like radon checklist, PCB checklist, and all the other kind of designer certifications. So our intention is to provide this set as well as most of those items tomorrow to our plan reviewer so that she has access to the project manual, the drawings, and some of the baseline information, all trending towards our Wednesday meeting. Projects of this size and complexity typically take multiple meetings with the state. We're optimistic that we'll be in a shorter time frame than the phase 1 approval. But that's the focus of our effort, as well as picking up the corresponding comments and modifications to the Norton set as well. Hopefully, we're going to have more members of the Tecton team that have been working on the project at Fall Fest. So if you guys are stopping by, you may be able to meet more of the folks that don't necessarily come to these type of meetings, but have nonetheless been working very, very hard on the project. A couple of things that we're tracking. Our sole source requests have been submitted to the state. We have still not heard back, but I requested an update in advance of our meeting next week. That needs to be in place, or at least conditional, for us to go out to bid. We're also tracking the plumbing code modifications. We received the one for Norton, and we did not receive the one for North End. So track the reason. The original submission was only for when it went to some parties, it got lost in the shuffle, and Norton was the only one that was submitted. So we followed up with the town officials and submitted the North End, and our contacts at the Office of the State Building Inspector have it on top of their pile. So we believe we'll have the corresponding plumbing code modification approval within the next week or so. We've continued to work on with the pre-detailer to make sure that we're answering those questions. So those typically are questions that will come up much later in the process when the steel detailer is going through the shop drawing process. That's one of the advantages that the committee has, is that process is happening now. So that whole shop drawing review and approval and fabrication drawings is multiple months in advance of when it normally would be. So we're continuing to do that and continuing to work with Ryan and his team on submittals and responding to any questions that happen in the field out there now. So I anticipate it's probably going to be a little bit quieter now that North End is more or less where it is in a monitoring phase, and we're kind of just waiting for the culvert on Norton. So, so that's, any questions?
No, I will say I want to congratulate and thank all the members of the design team. You have done a tremendous amount of work getting all this pulled together on time. I sent a note to Jeff W. and Justin, I don't know, a week or so ago, and said, if you need more time, let me know. I'm looking at, what's ahead of us and what review comments were made and everything else, and I don't know how you'll get it all done. And they came back saying, no, we got a team of working on it, and it'll get finished. So we're right on schedule, which, you know, I often doubted that could happen, but we're right there. And I want to thank you guys for all the hard work, and I love the design. I am so excited to see this thing start to come to fruition.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a weird period in the project where, you know, as we get RFIs, when we go out to bid, as we get RFIs, we're going to be responding to them, continuing to respond to any, you know, like, geez, you guys said you got this, but you missed it, you know, can you modify this? Those type of comments. But we got the whole team's attention. The whole team is dedicated to bringing home Norton in a similar way. And it's really an exciting time for the project.
Wonderful. And obviously, the Board of Ed was very pleased and excited, and I think we're on our way. Any other comments from the group? If not, then I will take a motion to adjourn. Dennis, seconded by Sarah. All those in favor? Okay. Sean does not want to.